Hi, this is Phil Biadrone at What's Trending 2016. Next to me is Jamie Katsup. Jamie, I understand you were presenting on behalf of Google today, correct?
Yes, I was invited here to talk a little bit about the future of education and what's going on in this space.
Great, so I know it's a hot topic, so basically what would you say is important for people coming up with the technology today as far as education is concerned?
Yeah, so I think the summary of my talk is to think about what we need to think about in education, and it being that we need to focus on iteration and innovation, that we're constantly doing things in different ways and that kids need different sets of skills. And it's really about asking different kinds of questions. And one of the schools that I'm involved in that we're building in Phoenix called the Phoenix Coding Academy is focused around that. Like our motto is, are we asking the new questions? And so asking new types of questions like what are the skills that kids need? What are the competencies they need to build? How is computer science relevant to that? And that's what we're trying to do in Phoenix.
Interesting. And you had mentioned the iteration part. I just want to touch on that. You made a difference between success and failure and iteration, and you explained it almost through updating of apps and Google. So can you just go into a little bit more depth of what that means?
Yeah. So I think what the point there is that what we try to often talk about is we try to teach kids about success and failure, and we have these very clear definitions of what those things look like, right? An A is success, and F is failure, right? Like we even have the letter for it, right? So this idea that we have failures and successes, and my point is that we don't have that. What we have is constant iteration, that there is no end point, that we're constantly moving, constantly going forward, and that failure rates or success rates aren't as relevant as iteration and how fast we can take something and then constantly improve it and make things better.
I completely agree with you. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Hello and welcome back to What's Trending 2016. I'm Phil Biadrone. Next to me is Alejandra and Valerie. Tell me, girls, what brings you to the event today?
Well, we work with Long Beach Unified School District with the Youth Employment Network. So we are here to just find some skills and some motivating words that we could share back with our students just to kind of help them and push them to find careers and be productive members of society.
Okay, speaking of which, you came here to pick up some skills and some inspiration. Has anything really called out to you yet? Have you learned anything or anything really stand out?
No, I know. Honestly, I just love the honesty that the speakers had and how a lot of them started from zero or like nothing and didn't have a mentor, didn't really know what to do, and they just kind of went along with their gut, and now they're in powerful positions. So I think that was really inspiring because at least growing up, I was told that there's a clear path and you just got to follow it, and that's what it is. And that's not how life works. You stumble and you fall, you climb, and so I just think that was the one thing that I took from this conference was just you just gotta, when you fail, just gotta get up and keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an outdated model, and as we spoke before, there's not really any failures. It's just iterations getting better and better. So any closing thoughts, anything you wanted to add, Alejandra?
I just like how I was easily motivated by what they were saying. Now I want to be an entrepreneur, so we'll see. Yeah, no, I'm not going to drop out. But it's good to have a safety net, which was what I was saying earlier. Like a lot of them were saying you don't really need the education, but like we're going to graduate soon, so we want to have that safety net to continue.
I just think it's more to having interpersonal skills. Like you could have the education, you could be in a classroom and you could know certain theories or such, but if you can't apply it into daily life and interact with people and prosper, then I don't think your education is going to help you. And I think that's what they were kind of trying to say, that you got to put in that extra mile.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Alejandra and Valerie, and it's a pleasure to have you here, and see you next conference. Hello and welcome back to What's Trending 2016. I'm Phil Biadrone. Next to me is Noel Massey. Noel, you're a presenter. In a nutshell, what was your presentation about? What do we need to know about what's trending with education?
Well, Phil, I was asked to speak at this conference because workforce planners, people in workforce development, I think the intent is to try to stay in front of what employers are expecting, right?
Yeah.
And so my presentation was grounded in education for young people, particularly early education, birth to 5, 5 to 10, looking at them that way so that this group, where they have the ability to influence high development systems for early ed, that they don't minimize the impact that's going to have on workforce development. So my talk was founded there. It was grounded there, I should say.
Great. And you had mentioned the 15% in the beginning will follow the 85, starting those kids, at 2 years old in preschool. I thought was really innovative. So what trending wise do you think is going to be significant for the children coming up? Obviously in earlier education, but as far as curriculum goes, or things that they need to study, or you mentioned a lot about global and understanding what affects you globally as part of what your workforce does.
Right. So if you look at science, math, reading,
Right.
if you look at the U.S., our fourth graders rank in the bottom tier.
Yeah.
Like, we're not in the top 10.
Right.
Let's
It's
keep
like
it
17
simple.
or something, right?
That's right. That's right. And really, fourth grade education levels are the best precursor to what you're going to look like as 12th graders.
Interesting.
And then if you can't have an 80% dropout rate with 12th graders,
Right.
is the idea, and then have like this healthy college graduation and all these great people that are going to go work for Microsoft and UPS and Coca-Cola and Apple. I mean, how you going to do that if the failure rate is so acute in public schools? How are we going to fill the new knowledge economy if we ignore that? I think there's an idea we can ignore it, particularly people that are in positions of influence. I mean, let's face it, if we're just being honest for 60 seconds here, the person who's a low income worker living in an urban community is probably not going to be the person in the governor's office talking about education.
Sure.
And probably the upside down nature of that is the people that are doing that are people like me, right? Highly educated and paid. And my kids are doing great because I can afford to have them do great.
Sure.
So it's not this top of mind personal issue, right? Well, but it is. Because if you're an American, anything to do with our economy and the future of our country needs to be your concern. And if our young people are our future, it's not looking so good. And we need to realize that we don't get to fix it in 30 years or 20. As we've dropped from number one in the world in 72, our nation created Apple, Microsoft, Cisco, because young people were getting public educations and creating great companies. Now, unless you have 200 grand, right? I mean, you get the point. So,
as your kid said, you messed it up for my generation.
yeah, right. My sons, and the point you're making there is I was talking about my two boys, are 2022, millennials, right?
Sure.
And they're always jumping all over me about our responsibility as baby boomers.
Yeah.
Because we created global warming and we created $16 trillion of debt. And how are we leaving them with that? And that's just messed up, right?
Yeah.
And what do you say? Except you're right, son. I'm going to do everything I can with the rest of the life I have to help make your children's better.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Noel Massey. Your presentation was excellent. Appreciate having you here today, and
Thanks, Phil.
we've all learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.